What's up? It's Ashlynn Makes Food, and today we're making some deviled eggs. Let's do this. I'll put the full list of the measurements and ingredients in the description down below. Since Easter is right around the corner, I wanted to make some deviled eggs. My mom got me these farm fresh eggs from her neighbor, and look at how delicious they look. I thought they would make the perfect egg for some deviled eggs. I've made them before, but not in a really long time, and I didn't really have a recipe to follow. I asked my mom how she makes hers, and she says by taste. So I go into this like, great, I don't have the recipe, and I haven't had my mom's deviled eggs in years. I looked up a recipe just so I could kind of have a general idea, and they turned out okay, but they weren't up to my mom's deviled eggs standard. I'm doing a pretty basic recipe with just your typical ingredients of mayo, mustard, seasoning, and some tang, which could be the vinegar or the pickle. After making these, I have a few things that I would change next time, or that I would suggest you to change. Number one would be to use a relish. I didn't have any on hand, so I just made my own by dicing up the pickles super small, and that ended up not being small enough because when I went to pipe them, the pickles were getting stuck in my piping tip. I also used a dill pickle, which I think using a sweet relish would be much better. The eggs were almost missing a hint of sweetness, which is why the sweet relish would go so good in this recipe. The relish would also work way better because it is in a much smaller size compared to my diced up pickles. Number two would be to add in some baking soda or salt to my water as my eggs are boiling. I've seen that adding this in can make it easier to peel your eggs, but since I didn't do that, I can't really vouch for that, but it wouldn't hurt to try it out because peeling these eggs was kind of annoying. They say that if you put your eggs into the ice bath immediately, that should shock the inside of the egg, which will cause the membrane to come apart from the egg, which makes it easier to peel. But I don't know if that really worked because I still kind of had a hard time peeling the eggs easily. But I just think that's how it is no matter what, whenever you are trying to peel an egg. Number four would be to actually measure out my ingredients. Some of the measuring spoons that I needed, like a tablespoon, was dirty, so I just went ahead and guessed it, but I feel like I didn't add enough compared to if I would have actually measured it out. Our eggs are boiled, which means they just need to chill, and then we can crack them open and make the yummy filling. I'll see you in a little bit. Number five would be to use a Dijon mustard. I really love Dijon, but I didn't have any on hand, so I just went with my regular mustard, but it didn't really add that much flavor. Dijon mustard has a much more sharp and complex flavor, which would really just go so good in this recipe, especially with a sweet relish. My last recommendation would be to let the eggs fully chill before eating them. I thought mine were all the way chilled, and then when I ate them, it was still a little bit warm, which just kind of grossed me out a little bit. More on that at the end. I normally really love deviled eggs. I typically only have them maybe once or twice a year on Easter and Thanksgiving, so I wanted to continue that with having deviled eggs on Easter. My mom is out of town this Easter, so I won't be having hers, which is why I wanted to try making them myself. Sometimes when I make something the first time, it turns out great. Sometimes it's terrible. Sometimes it's trial and error, and we just figure it out. This was one of those times of trial and error and just figure it out as you go, and next time it'll be better. Which is why I'm telling you all of the things I would do differently when I make these next time. I wanted my consistency to be super soft and airy so that I could use a piping bag. You can mash this by hand with a fork or possibly a whisk, but I wanted to use that hand mixer so I could get it super soft and velvety. Which, even though I used my hand mixer, I still ended up having some egg yolks in my mixture. So maybe use a fork after you've used your hand mixer just to confirm that there are no chunks in it, especially if you're using the piping bag. There are so many ways to make this recipe elevated to a whole nother level. If you really wanted to impress your guest, you could add in some bacon crumbles in the mixture and top it off with some chives. Yum. If you don't have a piping bag, or maybe you don't want to pipe them, no worries. You can just scoop your mixture into your egg whites and call it there. Or if you wanted to try piping but you don't have any bags, you could put this mixture into a sandwich bag and just cut a tiny little piece off of the corner and squeeze it just like you would squeeze the piping bag. I was really excited to pipe this, but because I used those pickles and cut them up myself, the pickles were getting stuck inside of my star tip, as well as some of the egg yolk that wasn't mashed down. So you can kind of see me struggling with that a little bit as I'm piping. Maybe I should just stick with piping cakes and not piping eggs. I also should have put more of the mixture inside of the cavity, because once I was done, I ended up having some extra egg yolk that I just put inside of the middle. But I definitely could have put more of the yummy mixture in the actual deviled egg. If you like spice, I would also suggest to add paprika inside of the actual mixture instead of just topping it on top, but it's totally up to you on how spicy you want these to be. Just a heads up, I may gag at the end. All right, you guys, we just finished up the deviled eggs. Let's take a look. Delicious. Let's give them a taste. Cheers. In one bite. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more yummy recipes every week. Have a happy day, and I will see you next week.